Welcome to another episode of the Jarvis Sam Show. I am your host, Jarvis Sam. Before I begin, I just received news that legendary hip hop icon DMX has passed away at the age of 50 as a result of a heart attack that stemmed from an overdose that he suffered last week. Man, it's a devastating blow to the hip hop community. We have so many icons in the area of hip hop, right? There's so many legends, so many icons. But when you think about iconic, man, there's few that are as iconic as DMX. I know when people pass away, we tend to put them in a huge light. We magnify them. We acknowledge their greatness. I was happy that DMX actually got to show his greatness and show what an impact he made in hip hop earlier this year, as he got to participate in my opinion, one of the most epic versus battles we had to date when he went up against Snoop Dogg. So I was glad he got to have that moment. I think it goes to show you that God's moves are calculated, and nothing really goes in vain. He was given that platform to one more time share the stage with a legend, to one more time get to share his music and his gift with the world, even if for one last time. We know that DMX was a conflicted human being. He went from being a praying Christian man to cussing you out in the next moment. But how many of us can also say we're conflicted, right? The thing is just getting better as we go along. So really, not a good day for a hip hop fan, knowing that, somebody that, and for me, DMX was never in my top. He's not like in my top 5 or 10 rappers of all time. He's not. I'm not gonna put him on that pedestal just because he passed away and the death is hitting me. His influence is undeniable. When I think about like the careers that probably came from DMX, like when you think about like a Ja Rule who had a phenomenal career, made great music, I shudder to think, would Ja Rule exist if DMX had not been here? And then if Ja Rule doesn't exist, does Murder Inc. never become as huge as it was? Which, spun the careers of Ashanti, which spun the career of Lloyd. Like, these are amazing artists. And maybe they would have gotten a break some other way. Who knows? But that's how I kind of view him. My favorite rapper is Jay-Z. Jay-Z's been my favorite rapper since probably 02, 03. More like 03 probably. And there were 2 songs that initially kind of introduced me to who Jay-Z was. And I knew who Jay-Z was. I knew he was a rapper. I knew he was from New York. But us in the South, like, honestly, it was few rappers that we kind of rocked with. We more like rocked with like Bone Thugs and Harmony and West Coast rappers. We liked Eazy-E. We liked, Ice Cube. We liked Snoop. We liked Dre. We liked all that. But we really weren't on the East Coast bandwagon at the time. And so I kind of just saw Jay-Z as like that face of the East. And I kind of just didn't vibe with him right away. I'm not one that said I rock with him since Reasonable Doubt. Now I have Reasonable Doubt now and I love it. But, I was not a Jay-Z fan at the time. But there were 2 records that I truly noticed Jay-Z on. The first one was Money Ain't a Thing, because it was on Jermaine Dupri's Life in 1472, which was one of my favorite albums. Still to this day, I love that album. It just was a compilation of so many amazing artists. So that was one record. And then the other record was the record with DMX, Money Cash Hoes. And you really had to wait for Jay-Z's verse to end before you could even get to X. So I literally waited through the song so that I could hear X spit, right? So it made me recognize the lyrical ability that Jay-Z had, and how talented he really was, and made me realize that I was sleeping on Jay a little bit. And then obviously, Jay-Z had Big Pimpin' with our Texas boys, UGK, RIP to Pimp C as well. That was a phenomenal record. So, but like, history has shown differently. Like, I've gone back and realized how great of an impact Jay-Z really had on the game. But again, I don't know that I would have even had such knowledge of, I wouldn't have discovered Jay-Z as early as I did had it not been for those two records. And honestly, the Money Cash Holes was the one I liked the most out of the two. So it's just a sad day. My condolences go out to his family, the fans that he has. He has some diehard fans that love his music, that love the impact he had. There's a lot of clips of him that are out here on social media. If you can just search the hashtag DMX, and you'll see these interviews he had where he's dropping knowledge. He had a really good interview with Drink Champs. Go check that out. But DMX, man, what a legend, what an icon, what a devastating blow to hip hop. May he rest in peace. May we remember him through his music. May we remember him through his amazing words and the knowledge he dropped. And let us not just focus so much on his shortcomings, because we all have shortcomings. And I think he was working on his shortcomings, but sometimes those demons that you have, like, sometimes they just get the best of you when, especially when it's something that's so addictive, like an actual drug. So it's a shame that he's gone. It's a shame that we'll have to just remember him through his music. And I know today I will be listening to some of his classic records. One of my favorite movies also, it was a favorite movie when I was growing up. It was Down to Earth with Chris Rock. I love Chris Rock films. So many DMX songs were in that movie. I remember, so in the movie, Chris Rock had passed away, and right before a big opportunity, and he ended up coming back as a white guy. And so, but his soul was still this black guy, right? So, funny, iconic scene. You got this older white gentleman basically listening to "Stop, Drop, Shut them down, Open Up Shop." Oh no! And because this car pulled up, and he's like listening, he's like jamming hard, because in a black man's soul, like, that's the moment you're gonna have when a song just hits your spirit like that. But it's just an iconic moment in that film, and it just again connects to a DMX song, and um, man, it's just a devastating blow. I remember one of the biggest things he did when I was growing up, because in high school he was the man when I was in high school. Like, he literally was the transitional person from, honestly, from the Biggie and Tupac era to what became probably the Jay-Z and beyond era. Like, he was the glue. Like, he was right there in between. At one point, he did something that was almost unprecedented. He dropped 2 albums in a year, which at that time was unprecedented, especially for a hip hop artist. Back in that time, you were lucky to get an album every 2 years from somebody. If it was a really big artist, you're going to get one every 3 or 4. Now I know people, with this instant gratification and digital, like, you have to, like, keep music out there to stay relevant. So I know that's not as unheard of now. So if you're a younger listener, you're probably like, oh, but Lil Durk dropped. Hey man, DMX did this back when it wasn't that easy to put music out there in volume, because you were afraid to oversaturate the market and in turn make yourself irrelevant. But DMX was the man. So salute to DMX, man. Every artist that he has opened the door for, paved the way for, that he's influenced. I believe that many of the artists that, we liked in the early 2000s were products of DMX, from 50 Cent to Lloyd Banks and that whole G Unit movement to, um, Dipset, like all that. I think all of them had a little bit of DMX in them and looked up to X. So, man, just keep that family in your thoughts and prayers. Devastating day. Unfortunately, I'm going to cover some more devastating stuff. This was a topic that I've honestly been kind of going back and forth if I wanted to talk about it, for just several reasons. But, just of everything I've seen over the past few days, it became evident that, it's something I wanted to talk about. But before I get into that, I do want to say, if you visit my website, jarvisssam.com, check out my website out, jarvisssam.com. I house my podcast there, and everything else that I do is right there on the website. Wherever you found this podcast at, please like, subscribe, share, rate, review. That's how we stay moving. That's how we keep it going. We got some good things coming in the future, and just want to keep you plugged in. Now, Deshaun Watson. Wow. A lot is going on with this. A whole lot is going on with this brother. So the elephant in the room is obviously the 22 counts of sexual misconduct that he has pending with these massage therapists. 22 different massage therapists have come forward saying that Deshaun Watson has sexually assaulted them in some way during their sessions. I do want to give some background to this. So Deshaun Watson is a Clemson Tiger, Clemson alumni. It's where he played college football. That's where he won NCAA championships. And then he was drafted by the Houston Texans in 2017. I'll tell you what, I'm Houstonian, so huge Texans fan. And if you know about anything about Texans football, we have struggled to get that franchise level quarterback that can really get us over the hump to be a championship level team. We've managed to stay, relevant over the past, several years. So we, competing for the AFC South and, fighting for the playoffs, but you never really saw us as that team that could truly dethrone the New England Patriots at the time, right? So drafting this quarterback was franchise changing, right? We knew that this kid was used to winning. We knew he was a winner, right? And that was exactly what we needed. We needed a quarterback that was mobile, that could throw the football, that can make plays, all that, because our franchise that has eluded our franchise since 2002 when we entered the league. We had a decent quarterback in the mid, I guess the late 2000s to the early 2010s. We had a gentleman by the name of Matt Schaub, who, had his best years as a Texan, but was not a franchise-changing quarterback. He was a decent quarterback. He put some good pieces around him. He can do some things, but he had a great fall. And after that, we just struggled to find any stability at that position. And then we got this brother. We traded to get that pick to add him to our team. He didn't start right away for us, but after our quarterback that was starting at the time didn't get it done, the Texans made the call to bring him in, and he made an immediate impact. And before all of this, I mean, you could easily say he is one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the NFL. You can argue Patrick Mahomes, of course. You can argue Tom Brady, of course. You can argue, a couple more names, Lamar Jackson. But really and truly, he probably is on par with Patrick Mahomes, and just doesn't have the Super Bowl to back up his stats and his legacy, but definitely was on his way to being just a dynamic quarterback. So to add a little more substance to this, last summer, the Texans franchise traded away their star receiver. So we had a top 2, 3 quarterback in the league, and we had a top 2 or 3 wide receiver in the league. So when you have those two, like, you can have a dynamic offense and you can put up some points. Well, they traded him, and the big controversy was that Deshaun Watson wasn't even in the know that this gentleman was traded. When you are a star quarterback, when you are a franchise player on a team, typically the franchise and ownership and management, they bring you in on these kind of decisions just because, like, you are that guy, like, and like they're building this team around you, and ultimately he's going to help you win a championship or keep you competitive. Well, he wasn't in the know about that, which, obviously you're going to feel some type of way when you know that most other players in your position are going to be privy to that information. He let bygones be bygones. Fast forward, Texans have one of the worst seasons they've had in franchise history, despite having one of the best quarterbacks in the league. It was because he didn't have the weapons he needed to perform. It became very frustrating. There was issues with the head coach at the time, who was also the general manager, which is crazy. To add a little background to that, Bill O'Brien was the Texans head coach and the general manager. Now, I just want you to think about your job. If you perform decent at your job, just decent, are they going to grant you more responsive, like basically assuming a whole nother job as well, when you're barely meeting expectations at your current job? And that's what they were doing with Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien did not get us to the Super Bowl. Bill O'Brien did not get us past the second round. Yet he is pretty much has complete control of the team as the general manager and as the coach. That is crazy. I digress. So anyway, it comes out that, DeAndre Hopkins, who was the receiver that was traded the year before, or this in the offseason, had issues with Bill O'Brien. Then it turned out that a lot of players were having issues with him, including J.J. Watt. And after him and J.J. Watt got into it, all of a sudden he's gone. So when the black receiver has an issue with him, they get him out of there. When the white superstar gets into it with him, they get him out of there, right? Whatever. So he's gone. So now it's like, okay, who's going to be the Texans head coach? Deshaun Watson had some people that he had in mind that he would like to consider to be the head coach of the team. And again, they go in a completely different direction. Deshaun Watson decides, again, feels disrespected, feels that, hey, they don't care about my input. And he goes on vacation, comes back from vacation, and pretty much tells everybody that he's demanding to be traded off the Houston Texans, that he doesn't want to play for this team anymore. And rightfully so. The Texans were adamant about not wanting to trade him. They wanted to hold on to him for whatever reason, although he's disgruntled. And that's the team's prerogative, like a trade is a trade. I think this day and age, players are more entitled than they've been in years past. Back in the day, you used to see players stick with teams for a very long time. Now it's, they know their value, they know their worth, and they know that, hey, at the end of the day, like, I'm the one that brings this franchise money. I'm the star player. I'm more valuable than the coach. I'm more valuable than this organization. And they can move around and try to set themselves up for better success, which, leads to better opportunities for their own personal brand. So it only makes sense. So that's the backstory. But now let's fast forward. All of a sudden, there are, and I'm not here to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm just giving some background because, I, I can only go off of facts. I can only go off of timelines, and I can only go off of common sense. Anybody that knows me knows that I don't care how many degrees you got. I don't care what title you have. If you don't have common sense, you're not going to get that far. Like, common sense will take you places that other things just can't. I think common sense and having a high EQ can totally transform your life, right? Um, but having said that, Deshaun Watson is in a sticky situation here. Again, I can only go off of facts. I can't go off of anything other than what's been presented in front of us, right? Allegations are allegations. They're either true or false. The only people that truly know the truth are Deshaun Watson and those women that are making these claims. In most situations, the truth lies somewhere in the middle, right? Um, so 22 women are alleging that Deshaun Watson um, hired them on to be a massage therapist, and somewhere in their sessions, he sexually assaulted them or in some way asked them to do something of a sexual nature for him. If those acts were performed, who knows? But that's what's alleged. Earlier in the week, two women came forward and revealed their identities and actually made some statements. One lady said that, went on and just said that, hey, she was put in a situation where now she feels that her what was near and dear to her, the being a massage therapy, has been tainted forever and whatnot. And if something did happen, if Deshaun did something, and truly did something wrong, like, yeah, he needs to be held accountable, and I feel sorry for her. Um, but at the same time, again, sometimes, most of the time, I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle, right? So I think that maybe Deshaun did some things that were not exactly proper, but I also think that those things were not off the table because of who he was and because of money, right? Um, Everybody has a price, and if you look at what's being alleged, and you look at everything, if he committed a sexual crime, he should be tried as a criminal. All these all these complaints are all civil suits, right? So that means they just want money. So again, I'm not here to put the gold digger stamp on him, but at the end of the day, like, why do you not want this man tried as a criminal, right? Because he committed a crime. He did something to you of a sexual nature that has tainted you forever. That is a crime. He has lost his endorsements from Nike, from Beats by Dre. There were a couple more that I heard that have pulled away, and I get it. Those companies have to protect their interests. They have to do what's best for their reputation. And 22 counts of sexual misconduct looks bad. Any way, shape, or form you try to turn it, like, it looks really, really bad. Again, does it mean it's true? Not necessarily. It does not mean it's true, but my grandmother always just used to say, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? So there is some smoke, and I would anticipate that, I'm not going to go on here and assume that Deshaun Watson is an angel. I'm not going to go on here and assume that Deshaun Watson is a criminal either, right? I'm going to just again go by what's been presented in front of me. As I'm recording this, they called for an emergency hearing today to reveal the rest of the names of those that are accusing Deshaun of these allegations, so that they can get to working on these cases, right? Because they found that it's unlawful in the state of Texas to have these allegations out there and not actually have names attached to these allegations. Because what is Deshaun defending? Um, I also saw an interview with a young lady who was his massage therapist for about 2.5 years. Um, she stated that he never made any advances at her, that he barely even talked to her, that when they talked, it was, she was normally giving him advice about his team and to watch his back, is what she said. The part that did seem a little sketch was when they dived into some text messages that had been discovered and released between her and what she said was a friend. She was basically being asked about Deshaun, and she said, "Hey, I no longer, service Deshaun." Um, and some of the wording was like he was messing with too many people, and I told him to watch his back and that kind of thing. And but it almost sounded like she kind of knew what was going on, and it doesn't look good, and that to me it didn't look good. Even though she was defending him, it's still there were still some gaps in the stories. And with her saying that those text threads were misconstrued, I mean, I can look on both ends of the spectrum and kind of see where those messages could easily be misconstrued, because if you're wording it in the way that you did, like, oh, it doesn't sound good. But but again, she defended him and whatnot. She also said that he had some sort of relationship with an esthetician, which means that she knew that he was, having relationships with some people that were around him on his team, and apparently she was warning him about that. But it almost seemed like they may have had something, and she felt some type of way because of his relationships with others. I don't know. I think there was more to meet the story with her. Um, but she did confirm that he had, dozens of massage therapists on staff. She claims that that's the reason she discontinued services with him, because there were too many people on his team, and she did not want to be liable if there's an injury or something like that when there's so many people that are working on him. Again, doesn't look good. It really doesn't. I hope he again, if he did something wrong, he deserves to be held accountable for it. If he didn't, I just hope that he learns from it and realizes like less is more, and is able to bounce back. Because we've seen athletes and superstars have these falls from grace, right? So many times in the past. But most of those falls from grace were after their prime. So they were able to have a good, healthy, productive career. And then everything kind of surfaces. We can look at O.J. Simpson, right? He was retired, all that, by the time the whole murder case and all that happened. We can look at Tiger Woods. He had already won several Masters and whatnot. We can look at R. Kelly. Like, he had several platinum albums and Grammys and whatnot. We can look at, Michael Jackson, again, past his prime. We can look at all these people that had just something go wrong. And Deshaun is just not going to be able to be a part of that. I mean, at the end of the day, like, no matter how this thing shakes out, no team is going to really want him right away just because of that controversy, right? He's likely not going to play next season for the Texans or anybody, just because this thing is going to be going on. He's more than likely going to be on the commissioner's exempt list, which he's going to be able to. I mean, he's going to get his wish and not play for the Texans next year and still get a paycheck, but he's just not going to be able to build his stock up as that top tier quarterback in the league. It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. I don't think we've ever seen something like this happen so early in somebody's career. I think even the Michael Vick thing, Michael Vick was established. Michael Vick was that dude before the dog fighting thing and everything. So it's really unfortunate. It's bad timing. Um, it's poor judgment on his part if he did those things. I hope he did not do those things. As a black man, I'm like, please, brother, don't have done that, please. And again, if it was one of those cases, which I think it was, I think it's if I'm being honest, I think it's one of those situations where he got the offer from someone to go a little further, and then he started getting names and numbers and building his team up. And I think he probably thought it was something that was consensual at the time and whatnot. And now the allegations are coming out the other way because, hey, this man has a hell of a contract here in the NFL, so we can all eat off of this now. I don't like, being the one to discredit, any female or whatever, because if anything, the Me Too movement taught me that there's a lot going on and that with females, and a lot of females have been sexually abused and harassed, and that movement is I can't stand that movement. And I know, and it taught me the perspective of sometimes women don't come forward just because they don't know if they're going to be taken seriously, right? And so if that is the case, I hope those women get their justice, but I also think that justice is beyond just getting a paycheck, right? Like if he's done this with multiple women and it was not consensual and he was aggressive or what have you, he has to be held accountable for that. I'm fair. I talked about accountability last week on my last podcast as it relates to the George Floyd situation with the police officer Derek Chauvin. I think accountability has to be across the board. Unfortunately, accountability typically doesn't always work on both ends of the spectrum, which is disheartening. But hopefully, we start getting some answers soon on what's going on. Again, he's lost his contracts with Nike, with Beats by Dre. He's likely not going to play next season. It's really bad. It's a bad situation for him. But let's just pray that the truth comes out and that if these women are lying, I think they need to be held accountable. That there needs to be some accountability on both ends, because this man is losing a lot. He is. We can talk about, oh man, he's rich and this, that, and the third. He's going to lose a lot of money. He's losing a lot of money. You talk about the endorsements, you talk about diminishing his reputation, is going to diminish his ability to make money. And it's just a doggone shame that a guy that has trained his whole life to be one of the absolute best could have it taken from him because of this. If he's making his own bed, yeah, he needs to lie in it. But otherwise, I think we need to continue to just look at the facts. Let's not jump to conclusions, because it's going to be, we're going to find out some things. We've already seen a lot. There's already a lot of information out there. So we're only going to continue to see more and more as this unfolds. By the time that this airs, we're going to know even more about the situation. So this is already going to be dated, right? So much to listen to, so much to digest, so much to make sense of. But use your common sense to make the best judgment on this. And looks like it's going to be a long road ahead for the Houston Texans still. So that's it. I really kind of got on here with a somber mood just because of the DMX thing, and already talking about something that's, controversial and not, not favorable for the brother Deshaun Watson. So I'm gonna go ahead and call it a day and wrap it up. But I'll definitely catch y'all next week with another podcast. RIP to DMX. Um, Condolences to his fans, his family, his friends. It's it's a tough day for hip hop. But anywho, check me out again on jarvissam.com. You can also check out my Instagram, jarvissam_, and you can also check out the podcast Instagram at thejarvissamshow. I look forward to catching you guys next week with another episode. Y'all take care.